For 19 months, investigative journalist Fisayo Soyombo studied, trailed, investigated, and eventually penetrated a Christian orphanage that had been selling babies under the table.
Now, this investigation exposes not only how a popular Lagos orphanage, headquartered in Lagos, of course, was attracting donors with its religious tenets, its long-standing existence, its media mileage, and strategic positioning in Nigeria's commercial capital, before diverting them to the southeast for backdoor cash for baby transactions. We're joined this morning by Fisayo Soyombo, who will share with us all the details behind this documentary. Good morning, Fisayo. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
All right. We've had a look at your expose. Great job done with Arrow of God there. Talk to us about, the moment, the beginning, how it all began. You got your tip-off in December 2021, and you said at the time, babies used to cost 1.5 million naira, but at the time that you made your payment, you bought your baby for 2 million naira. So take us through the journey from the point where you got your tip-off.
Yeah, so the tip-off came in December 2021. My informant is someone who is fourth in the chain. So the person who was asked to bring 1.5 million told someone, who told someone, who told someone, who then told me, and thought, look, this is something I should find out, I should establish to see if there was any truth in. I also thought I couldn't find out by making phone calls to the orphanage to ask them, this is what is in public about you, what do you have to say? And then it was just follow the trail. So if at the end of following the trail, there was no baby, then that meant it was a false accusation. However, from the very first conversation with the founder of the orphanage on phone, her exact words were, it is in the east that you are going to buy that one. So the word from her first time was not adoption, it was you're buying. And the conversations, moved from January 2022. At first, I had to find a wife, of course. So we went to the orphanage in Randa. Then afterwards, we started the phone conversations. And eventually in June 2023, we were told that our baby was ready. Apparently, there's usually a queue, so it's not like the moment you come. Well, you might be lucky that you come for a baby when there's one on ground, but usually they find these babies, because it took time and there were conversations. It's instructive to know that we were never told how much it would cost. All they did was size us up. Look at the car that we drove to the orphanage with. Then at some point, when the founder, who is a reverend, public profile is that she's an ordained minister. She's a retired colonel. What else? She's a retired matron. At some point, they said her phone was bad. There was a 7-month gap during which she didn't, answer our calls. The phone continued to ring. It would ring out and nobody answered. But when we paid the next visit, to the orphanage, we were told that our phone was bad. And the manner in which it was presented, it looked like that bad phone was always going to be an impediment to reaching her. So we had to buy her a phone, and from then the conversations picked pace, and eventually in June, we were told that our baby was ready. And until the day we were told that our baby was ready, nobody discussed how much it would cost. We only paid admin fees, 25,500. And yes, eventually. So they got to a point where they told us, look, this will cost 2 million naira, and I'd proposed to pay 1 million upfront and then pay the second 1 million when I finally had the people. They said, no, you have to pay the 2 million naira upfront. Now, what are the key things in this investigation? Number one is that they gave us a baby without knowing anything about us. Yes, there were forms that we filled. We wrote an address in Lagos. Nobody came to check to say, look, these people we are giving this baby to, do they actually live in that Ikorodu address that they put there? Where does he work? What business does he do? If he disappears, who do we know around him? They don't know any of my friends. They don't know any of my relatives. They don't know anyone, around me. Since we got that baby on July 6th, they've only called me once and I did not answer. and they've not called again. They don't know where to find. They can't say this. They don't know if I'm a ritualist, and they gave that baby out. So clearly, it was all about the money, and clearly, that's not the first time it's happening. Because again, as I said, it was someone who couldn't afford it, who told someone, who then told me. So that's not the first time.
Yeah.
Since we released this story, someone has, come to me to volunteer information that about 12 or 13 years ago, this woman had faced accusations of selling babies, and she was defiant. And she said, no, by that time, nobody did any, work of investigation. Since we published the story, a former student of the school in that orphanage has come forward to tell us that, yes, this orphanage started well, but around 2010 or thereabouts, things changed, and it looked like they then became a baby factory. Told us about a girl who was raped by the gatekeeper in that orphanage, and she got pregnant, and they wanted to take the baby from her, and the baby ran away. We went to collect this baby in Anambra. I can tell you for a fact that place is not an orphanage. I was in Lagos, Okeira. I can tell you that yes, Okeira still has the semblance of an orphanage. But you see that one in Anambra that I went to, it's not an orphanage. Nobody cites an orphanage in that forest. It's like the orphanage is the only building,
Fisayo.
you will see.
Yeah, apologies, because I want us to be able to get as much as possible out of this conversation. It's a lot of these things are shocking. So now I think you're already building a conversation into the baby factory conversation. So I want you to share with us, from what you found out, where do they get these children, that they have been selling, I believe, for a couple of years, and then is there something about the Southeast that is particular about this investigation, about this story? Or do we have these baby factories across the country? Is the Southeast in particular, something to be pointed at, in this story?
I'll answer the second question first, because that's more straightforward. The answer is yes. The Southeast is like a hotspot for baby factories. And why do I say this? From the very first phone conversation, when we had not set eyes on each other, what the founder told me was, it is in the East, you are coming to buy that one. The lady that I use as my wife, I had 3 wives in the course of this investigation, but the second in the chain, the second, she told her, she used the Yoruba name, Funke, and then a middle name, Ifeoma, and the founder told her, it is that Ifeoma you are going to use. You have an Igbo name. You have Igbo heritage. That is important. It's that Igbo. So clearly, there is something connected to the East as it concerns baby factories. And the first question, if I remember,
I was asking about where they get the babies from.
Yes.
Do they have somewhere where they just
Yeah, so that's something I was unable to establish. And getting this baby took 19 months, and he thought we could not continue investigating. Let's put out what we have, and if the authorities are serious, they can take it further. So I can't say for a certain where they get these babies from. I can't say for certain. However, a former student has come forward to say a girl in that orphanage was impregnated, forcefully so, and they tried to take the baby from her. That suggests that they do groom girls to get pregnant. But I don't have conclusive evidence. Another pointer would be that the mother of this baby, someone called Victoria Onoja Anita, since the story, was published and it's gone viral, nobody has come forward to say, oh, I'm the mother of this baby and I willingly gave her to Arrows of God Orphanage. We haven't found anyone like that. So while we can't pinpoint how they are getting the baby, there are facts to suggest that it's a deliberate production, whether internally or externally.
In the course of this documentary, we did see some documents when you asked the woman if the real mother of the baby would come further down the line to ask for the baby or to cause some trouble. She assured you that the documents from the court and the police would safeguard you, if I remember correctly. Talk to us about the legitimacy of these documents that you saw. What documents were you handed, and how legitimate were these documents? If they are, does that mean that the bodies are complicit or are involved in this crime?
The documents they handed us are legitimate, original seal, original stamp, and that confirms, I am sure now, that the police and the judiciary are complicit. Now, from the time they told us the baby was ready and they asked me what name I wanted to give the baby, I'd asked how quickly they could get us the documents. Because at the time I was out of the country, I was trying to manipulate my schedule to be available to pick up the baby. I think they said 2 to 6 weeks, and I was okay. Can it be done in 2 weeks? Can it be done in 1 week? They said, if we give the police and the court their entitlements, the documents will be ready quickly. That statement was not uttered once, 2 or 3 times. We just have to give them their entitlements. So there is a collusion. Don't forget, this orphanage has been in existence since 1998. So they've been around for so long. Now there's a collusion with the police. The police have a document saying that Victoria Onoja came and said, "Oh, this is my baby. I can no longer handle this." The police in Ada have been informed about this case for more than a week. So if they wanted to trace, they would have tracked the one. They would have contacted the division, closest to the division that released that document, and then they would have produced the Victoria Onoja by now. 1 week after, the police instructively have not said a single word on that document that they released and the identity of the mother of this child. The judiciary has not said one word up to now about the 2 court officials that signed a court document stating that I was in court, my wife was in court, the welfare officer was in court, and then there was a deliberation that, look, these guys are fit and proper to take care of the baby. I was out of the country on the date that court supposedly sat. My wife was in faraway Kano on the date that court supposedly sat. But it's an original document, and it should not happen that a court will decide the life of a whole human being without seeing the people that will take custody of that child's life forever. So if I was a ritualist, I would have gotten away with it because the court made no attempt to follow the process. They just got their entitlement and they released an original document to back it up.
I mean, it's not just ritualists. That is a major problem here. It's really how young kids can be sold, or trafficked, so easily in Nigeria. That's really what it means. We're still, of course, talking about trafficking in persons here in Nigeria. It's a fight that we're still dealing with. I want to talk about the woman because I watched it, the documentary, and I saw a woman who was complaining that her process was taking about 5 to 7 years, from when she applied to when she was eventually granted leverage to come and to apply or to pick up a child. I don't know what your response would be to people who say, well, for people like that, or if you go through the normal process, it takes so long. And so these people like the Arrows of God orphanage make it easier and faster for you, and that's why they make you pay 2 million or 1.5 million or 3 million for a child, so that you don't have to wait for 7 years. So talk about the weight that particular woman in your documentary spoke about, and if it makes any sense to say that Arrows of God only makes it faster for you to get a child.
Thank you. So first of all, the government is not going to make it as fast as, with Arrows of God, we got it in 19 months. An adoption process can happen in 19 months. Yes, it takes long, but why should it take forever? What are the processes that need to happen? And they can happen faster. So my wife and I, went to the Ministry of Youth and Sports in Lagos to apply to adopt a child in November 2022. They sent out a text in December 2022. That's the last communication we had from them. So 7-8 months of no action, no communication from the authorities. So why wouldn't someone, in my shoes patronize Arrows of God Orphanage? So yes, adoption is not going to happen overnight, but the government can make it faster. And I've been saying since this story got published, the right way cannot be harder than the wrong way. The government has to make it easier for people who want to follow the ethics, who want to follow the standards, to do it. They can't complicate it. What are the processes? You apply to the ministry, they do their verification, they check your health, then they connect to a welfare officer, and then at some point, there are like 6 steps, and then those 6 steps can actually happen in 2 years. Why? That woman said for 2 years there was no contact from the government, no contact. 2 years after an application. So if that ministry needs to employ more people, let it happen. But people have to be able to apply to adopt a child, and they have a date in view. They can sense it, that this thing will happen within 2-3 years. How long does it take to verify where I live, where I work? If government wants to go after people, does it not do it in 2 days, in 3 days? When government wants to, go after the people it doesn't like, how quickly does it happen? After NSAS, when DSS wanted to go after people, did DSS not bust homes in 2-3 days, within a week? After it, I know some third guy in Abuja whose house was DSS came there overnight, within a week of the protest. So the government knows how to track people when it is determined, and that same determination has to apply to verifying the suitability of people for adoption. When it happens, the attraction of the black market diminishes.
If I remember correctly, many years ago when I was graduating from university, my thesis was on a critical analysis of child adoption laws. And even at that time, it was still complicated. And it's such a shame that even many years down the line, we still have these complications. And the safety of the child is not even being prioritized. And we thank you that, you've brought this to light. We're going to be playing this documentary much later on News Central. So please stick around to watch. On a final note from my end, how is Oriade? How is she holding up?
She's very good. She's currently in the custody of NAPTIP. NAPTIP has been, needs me to cooperate with them on 1 or 2 things, and I've told them that can only happen if you say I'm going to have periodic access to this girl until she gets adopted by someone. And I have no shame in admitting that I am now invested. This is a girl, that was delivered to me, and this is a girl I hired a private caregiver for more than a month. This is a girl that there are even people around me who are invested, who have invested their personal time and effort in caring for her, in giving her a good life. We want to be sure, and we will do everything to be sure that this girl does not get an inferior life to the one that we've managed to give her in the last 6 weeks. We will do that this year, next year. We will continue to monitor her, because again, we don't want to be guilty of.
Seems we are disconnected. We've just had a conversation with Fisayo Soyombo, who has done a documentary, unfortunately unearthing very uncomfortable conversations around the process of child adoption and the illegalities that are surrounding it. And we'll be airing that documentary today on News Central. It's about 23 minutes and has very, very packed information there. We do hope that in the nearest future being as soon as possible, that the authorities do their due diligence, carry out investigations, and that whoever needs to be arrested and made to come and answer questions will be made to do so. All right, we have Fisayo. Fisayo, all right, you were speaking about Oriade.
Yes. So I was saying that. Oh, okay, you lost me for a while. I was saying,
yes, we did.
She's currently in the custody of NAPTIP, and we are in touch with NAPTIP. The plan is to continue to, intermittently, periodically have access to Oriade. Until she gets adopted by someone. This is not the end of the story. I'm interested. There are 1 or 2 people around me who are interested in seeing that she gets the best life possible. Because at the end of the day, we don't want her to have an inferior life to the one that we have managed to provide for her in 6 months. We don't want to be guilty of the same crimes that made us embark on this investigation. So the idea is to keep tabs on her and do all we can to give her a better life than what she would have been consigned to if we didn't buy her.
started off, well, and it will continue to go well. But I also want to talk about the arrows of God. Has there been any arrest made? Has the Nigerian government, done anything since your documentary was released? Has anybody, or is it currently sealed, at least?
Yeah, so yes, it is sealed. They have the main person, the admin staff at the Okeranda orphanage home. They have, I don't know if they have other people, but I'm sure that they have her. But I believe that that's like the cheapest thing to do, to just go the easiest, the fastest, the one that easily pleases, serves the purpose of the glam, to say, with our government is working, government has gone to lock that place up. But there are more important things. Number one, the most senior official in a court in Anambra, plus another senior court official, signed a document after they were paid entitlement. They signed a document to say a court process did happen. And that did not happen. So who are those people? Get them. That's how you show that, yes, you are truly interested in cleaning up a mess. Not that you take the symbolic step of just sealing. Anybody can just get security guys. You can get 5 policemen, 10 policemen, go to Arrows of God, okay, and place the seal on the gate and get everybody out and distribute them to other orphanages. But who are the people in court that produced that document, that enabled that process? Who are the people in the police that produced the document to enable that process? Now, who is the mother of this child? They have to find her, and we have to know the truth about how it happened. Those are most significant steps that the authorities have to take to convince us that they are interested in cleaning up the adoption, the mess in the adoption process, rather than just locking up an orphanage to show us they are working. That, for me, is a symbolic step. The real work is in producing and dealing with the people in court and police who enable the process, and then finding the mother. Because if you find the mother of that girl, you will get a lot of information about how this has managed to happen for so long and how it can be stopped.
Fisayo, I know I had said that was my final question, but what you've said has just prompted me to ask you this on a final note for real this time. With all that you've said, you've raised a number of questions. You've done a number of investigations as well. Do you have faith that these questions that you've raised will be answered? And these prayers that you're hoping, that the government will do these investigations, go to the court, and reach out to the judge or the magistrates who signed those documents. Do you have faith that these will happen?
I wouldn't want to preempt the authorities, but I would love for them to surprise me. That's all I want to say. I would love for them to give me the pleasant surprise of doing what they should do. Oh yes, absolutely. There is still hope. The very first orphanage after Arrows of God, the next orphanage we tried to do this with was House of Mercy in Egbeda, and then they said, no, we can't give you a child. You have to go to government. It's the work of government. It's not our job. So those ones played by the rules. There is another one, Little Saints, somewhere around Anthony Village, utterly professional. In fact, the moment we entered Little Saints, before we had the conversation with anyone, I was sure that nobody in that place was going to offer the baby back door. Utterly professional. Little Saints Orphanage, Anthony. And then the third, Heritage Homes Orphanage, Pangrove. And it is important. Thank you for pointing this out, because people who are interested in public good, who want to give the orphanages, have to understand that it is not all gloom. We are trying to clean up a process, but it doesn't mean that there aren't orphanages who are playing by the rules. And those 3, there may be more, but I only went to 4. And out of those 4, Arrows of God was the only one that was confirmed to be sending babies back door. These 3 played by the standards.
All right. Thank you very much for your time with us this morning and for the work that you do. Thank you.